Just before we get into the video, guys, let me take you a quick spoiler warning. This video does contain spoilers for Godzilla v Kong, so if you are planning to watch the movie, make sure not to watch this video just yet, but keep it in mind. So, after what feels like the longest and probably worst year or so of my life, the cumulative effort of half a dozen movies based around these massive monsters finally came to an end with Godzilla vs Kong. But now you're probably sat there scratching your head asking, or maybe you already know, maybe you've seen the movie, but if not, you're asking yourself, what happened? Well, let me give you a brief synopsis of what happened. So, the movie starts with Kong waking up, where I assumed was Skull Island, but it turns out it's not. It turns out Monarch has King Kong captured. And in the same scene, we meet Gia, a small girl who's deaf who can communicate with Kong through sign language. And we briefly learn Kong's intentions. All that he wants is his home. Now, I don't know if it's the big monkey sad eyes, or if it's the way they designed the character Kong to be so sympathetic, but I felt awful for him for like 95% of this movie. The guy just can't catch a break. So keeping the movie as brief as we can, Godzilla attacks a Monarch base. Something's wrong with him, he's destroying humanity, trying to kill people, and he has no remorse. But as an old saying goes, just because he does bad things doesn't necessarily mean that he is a bad guy. The film frequently reminds you that Godzilla is indeed the saviour of humanity, even with some CNN borders, as well as some characters talking in scenes, saying things like, do you ever forget what he did for us? Do you not realise who he is? You know, he doesn't hurt humanity, he protects humanity, you know, he's helped us through so much, etc, etc. But in this movie you have 3 or 4 branching stories which are all sort of intertwined in different ways. They all meet eventually in the middle. So you're constantly cut out of scenes and put into different scenes. I wasn't a big fan of the way it was, but I understand that you can't just have an hour and 40 minutes of big fighting monsters. So it cuts to Kong anyway. They're going to try and get Kong into the Hollow Earth. Yeah, the Hollow Earth was in the movie. So quite abruptly, we'll cut to the scene from the trailer where Kong is on the ship. And of course, Godzilla senses that there is another alpha in the area and decides to attack the ship. We're given a brief fight sequence between the two where Godzilla gets the advantage because obviously they're underwater. He tries to drown King Kong and the Navy has to intervene and bomb inside the water so that Kong can escape. Kong climbs back up onto the carrier and is absolutely incapacitated. He can't keep fighting. So the characters come up with an idea to switch off the engines of all the ships so that Godzilla thinks he's won. And it works. He swims away before giving us a weird, creepy, smiling shot of him stood in the water with fire around him. He looks so fucking weird here. Like crazy weird. They make him look like a villain from a Disney movie. So essentially, what they get from that is they can't transfer Kong there by boat. They're going to have to find a way to get him there. The guy makes a corny joke like, how does Kong like heights? And eventually they get that scene, which is sort of a throwback to how he flies in on the balloons in the old movie, where he gets flown in by helicopters in a big net. They drop him off in a sort of snowy area, and he doesn't want to go. He turns around and he looks at the opposite direction of where he needs to go. So they have Gia turn to him and say, there could be family in the Hollow Earth, there could be your kind. And he starts climbing through, running through, he's swinging, and he falls into a portal, which they have to go at something. He says something along the lines of 1,000 miles per hour in 2 seconds, so 500 miles a second. They shoot into the Hollow Earth, where eventually, obviously, Kong finds the axe and finds out that there was a big battle. There's a really fucking cool sequence where he puts the axe into the ground, and it lights up in the shape of a Godzilla skeleton. And Godzilla obviously senses that, gets pissed off, and burns a hole straight through the earth. They both then begin roaring at each other, you know, I'm better, no I'm better, no I'm better. So Kong picks up this new shiny axe, it's all powered up, shining blue like Godzilla's dorsal fins, and he jumps in, starts climbing his way through. He climbs out the other side in Hong Kong, I think they are, and he's just like, I'm here to fuck you up, are you ready to die? To which Godzilla says, absolutely not, no I'm not. They have, I think, about a 15-minute fight in Hong Kong where Kong gets the better of him for like 10 straight minutes. But then Godzilla gets like pissed off, Godzilla gets angry. It's like he wasn't fighting seriously the first time around. Suddenly starts throwing weird scratches in at him, starts like body slamming him around, biting his neck, biting his hand. He breaks his shoulder as well, which is quite gruesome. But the fight ultimately ends with Godzilla throwing King Kong to the ground, scratching his chest a few times to scar his chest, and then stamping on his chest twice. He then leans over and the shot from the trailer starts roaring in his face, to which Kong roars back in his face. Godzilla steps back and kind of acknowledges him like, you know, you're pretty good, kid. Yeah, Kong collapses and it's just, I think that's it. Godzilla wins both fights. But whilst all this is happening, we're getting a subplot. A subplot in which Godzilla not Godzilla you know, Mechagodzilla is being created. We see that they're taking Skullcrawler eggs for some reason to this facility, where they're actually building Mechagodzilla. We see him absolutely destroy a full-grown Skullcrawler. He picks it up above his head like Jesus on the cross and just melts its face. So whilst the characters are in the Hollow Earth, they managed to get some of the skeleton of the Godzilla that was destroyed earlier. Like, you know, way earlier, we're talking like prehistoric Godzilla skeleton, the one that pissed Godzilla off in the first place. And they used that and the skull of King Ghidorah to power up this big bad Mechagodzilla. But there was a really confusing scene here where the skull of King Ghidorah starts to glow. Like, they have pipes in it and they all start to glow really bright. The guy who's controlling it starts having a sort of seizure because of the electric. Mechagodzilla jumps out the ground and starts controlling itself, sort of thing, and starts fucking up Godzilla big style. Kong is dying, and Jay says Kong's heart's slowing down, he's gonna die. So in a sort of throwback again to the older Godzilla vs King Kong, they land a ship on his chest and shoot a massive electric bolt through his body, and the electricity gives him like anger and strength, and he wakes back up and is like, looks at Gia and he's like, what's going on? She's crying. She says, Godzilla is not your enemy, he's your friend. And he looks over and sees Godzilla getting absolutely stamped all over. He's literally got his head against the ground, stamping on his head. And Kong's like, okay, maybe he's not. So he helps him fight Mechagodzilla. There's a cool, badass fight sequence between Kong and Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, where Mechagodzilla looks like he's going to win until Godzilla shoots a beam at Kong and he catches his axe and starts putting the energy through the beam into the axe. He then starts to chop up Mechagodzilla and then tears his head straight from his body, raises it in the air and starts roaring. But then Godzilla starts roaring back and they have a bit of like confrontation again. Everyone's like, they're going to fight. Godzilla starts to roar. He steps back, looks at him, bows his head, and then turns his back towards the sun and goes into the water. To which Kong drops the axe into the ground and they walk away into the sunset all happy. Now I sat here waiting for the end credit sequence. I don't want to like break everyone's heart when I say, but there is no end credit sequence in Godzilla vs King Kong. The guy who directed it actually said that they didn't need one because the movie wraps itself up pretty much, and it does wrap itself up. It's all over. They had a fight. Godzilla won the original one-on-one battle, so if you were clicking to see who won, which is the title of the video, Godzilla was the big winner, of course. But, you know, in a similar fashion to the way Batman v Superman did it, they have both the big guys team up against an even bigger threat, and their only winner is friendship in the end, when they become best friends in the whole wide world. With that, that's who won the fight. My name is Killer Boy Jr. and thank you for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the flip side. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. Bye bye.